Hi viewers, you're welcome back to another lab of lecture 8. This time we're going to look at the 4 benchmarks in stating adequate hypotheses. You know, when you talk about benchmark in anything, we are talking about the minimum standard. We are talking about the minimum standard, this thing you can require to have something. So we are talking about what are the basic things you require to have an adequate hypothesis. Here we are looking at four. There are other things, but we are emphasizing as of now 4 of the benchmarks. The number 1 of the benchmark is one we describe as good structure. Another one is plausibility. Another one is consistency. And another one is testability. There are others that are going to look that are minor to these ones. So what do you mean by good structure in a formulating of or stating of adequate hypothesis? We mean that a good structured hypothesis should be free from ambiguity. It should not be ambiguous. It should have clear language, just like we stated when we're talking about characteristics of a research question. So it must have it must be concise. It must have a clear language. It must have a languages or words that are not ambiguous to your respondents or people you are studying or people that are going to respond to your questionnaire or going to be part of your research work. Another one is plausibility. What actually we mean by plausibility? We are saying that in formulating of your adequate research hypothesis, it must emphasize on definite differences from theories. There must definite what? Differences from theories and the empirical evidences. What do we actually mean here? You know, in a hypothesis, what guides us there is always existing theories. And after the essence of the work we're carrying out is to generate more information, more knowledge that could be added to the existing theories. These existing theories are in form of theories. You know, theories are used in solving problems. So there must be definite differences from, so you have to defend your hypothesis based on already existing theories and empirical informations. Empirical informations are a little different from theories. Theories may not be empirical, but they are very important in working with empirical work. Another important factor of adequate hypothesis is consistency. Yes, you have to be consistent with the current knowledge. You don't go to something that's outdated or outdated. Yes, whenever we are working and looking at the people's theories or hypotheses or work we are carrying out, you do not cite something that is obsolete. There are work that you are no longer sure whether their potency still exists, their validity still exists. So you have to look at something that is current. You don't talk about teaching method that is obsolete now and start quoting it or try to study it. Unless there's any test someone has done or you are about to do the same work to see whether that thing is still viable. Then we want to look at testability. This is another very important characteristic of an adequate hypothesis. Very, very important. It should be testable. Every hypothesis must be tested. That is number 1 characteristic. That is the number 1 and final. Other ones are embedded to verify it. Any hypothesis that is not tested or cannot be tested is not a hypothesis. Hypothesis should also be stated in action words that are observable. Yes, those of us that are teachers, you say anytime you are stating your objectives, that make sure that they are in behavior or behavioral terms. And one of the characteristics of something being behavioral, that it must be what? Observable. You do not say you're going to achieve something somebody cannot observe when you are achieving it. Then this actually also must be value free with specific conditions to avoid bias. Yes, whenever you're stating your hypothesis, ensure that your hypothesis is free from any form of bias. Then you have to look at ensure that researchers are therefore encouraged to formulate theory-based hypotheses. So whenever you are formulating your hypothesis, make sure it is what? Theory-based. It is based on existing knowledge. It is based on what is on ground for solving problems. So it's very, very important. Let us know and study where we can apply hypothesis. This has been a bone of contention or something that has been worrisome to some students or researchers. At times, we argue, we academics, we argue must every work involve hypothesis. Some believe that every work must involve hypothesis. Some do not believe. But in actual sense, every work should not involve hypothesis. It's not a must. There are works that require hypothesis, And even if they require hypothesis, you may decide not to work with hypothesis and work with just research questions. There are works that you can just decide to work with hypothesis and do away with the research questions. There are ones that you must have to combine the two. But any work that has the two, I mean research question and hypothesis, it is better, more acceptable, and will give you something better. We are going to find out if there are some few areas that there's no need of hypothesis. Yes, there are. Hypothesis may not be included in all research studies. It may not be applied when investigating works in history and philosophy, which rarely require application of statistical techniques. Hypotheses are only incorporated into research works which employ some statistical techniques. Yes. So if you are carrying out a work, a research that is qualitative, you need just to describe something. You don't need to generate any data. So why using hypothesis? Well, a hypothesis must be tested, and in testing hypothesis, you need statistical tools, and you need to generate some figures. So any work that does not involve statistical data, I don't think there's need for you to apply. You have a hypothesis there. You use your qualitative language to describe what you want to do there. Researchers in different fields are, however, encouraged to make use of hypotheses. That's the end of today's lecture. In our next lecture, we are going to look at kinds of hypotheses.